Everyone, the Meriwether County Board of Commission is now in session. I'd like to call to order. And at this time, we'd like to have invocation by Commissioner Buster McCoy.
Please bow with me if you would at this time. Lord, we just come to you as always, thanking you for the very blessings of life that you send our way. Lord, we just ask that you would be here and lead, guide, and direct in all that we say and all that we do as we go about conducting the business for the county here. And Lord, as always, we ask you even in advance to forgive us where we fail you. In Christ Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda. But before we do that, we need to make some changes. I'd like to move the executive meeting up right after we adopt the minutes. And then under new business, I'd like to add item number 7. And this will be for District 1 to fill an unexpired term on the IDA board. Now, with these changes to the agenda, can I get a motion that we accept the agenda with the new changes?
So moved.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the changes. All in favor? Motion carries. At this time, we'd like to adopt the minutes. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to read the minutes. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion that we adopt the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as they have been presented. All in favor? Thank you. At this time, there is a need to go into executive session for legal and personnel. I'd like to make a motion that, I would like to get a motion that we go into executive session.
So moved.
Second. And there's been a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we do need to go into executive session at this time. It should not last long. We will be back shortly, and just be patient with us. Thank you. Come out of executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second that we go out of executive session. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Motion. Second.
I'd like to make a motion that we go back into regular session.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to go back into regular session. I'd like to call for a vote. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we would like to go to our municipal comments. And I see the mayor from Woodbury. Is he still here? Yes. Mayor from Woodbury? I'm sorry.
Greenville and Manchester's here.
Yes. It's
Westbury from Manchester, maybe?
I'm sorry, from Manchester. That's what I'm looking at him, and I'm saying Woodbury. Okay, representative from Manchester.
Good
I
morning.
apologize.
I only would like to say that our splash pad, our recreation project, is really ahead of schedule. We plan to try to open in mid-May, hopefully a soft opening where the school is still in, so the smaller kids that are not in school, their parents can come and visit, kind of give us a little thing, but definitely to be open before Memorial Day. Coming along well. I think we're ahead of schedule. Really excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Glover?
Thank you. I don't have anything.
Thank you. All right. Is anyone else? Thank you for your comments. At this time, we'd like to go to our Constitution officers. I don't see anyone. Okay. Moving right along to our department heads. Sean?
No, this time.
All right, thank you. Terrell and Bill?
We're on the agenda for later on.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
You know
Well, it's usually grand.
I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of some of the activities we've got going on in building and zoning. Since the first of this month, we've issued 11 business licenses. Of those, only 3 of them are new, but we do have those renewals still coming in. Under building permits, we have issued a total of 8 so far this month, 5 of which are residential buildings, new construction. One's a commercial building permit, and the other 2 are electrical permits. So just to give you a little idea of what we're doing, there is a lot of construction going on, and hopefully we'll have a lot more for the end of the month.
Thank you. Okay. Brent,
I have nothing. That's how you shut it down.
Patty,
I'm good, thank you.
okay. Chief,
No
I'm sorry?
report this time.
Okay. Skip from IT. Do I overlook anyone else? And then Ms. Ashley?
Well, I have something to say about Kathy.
Women keep it rolling.
So in extension, we have continued to have a busy month. I want to remind you about Farm Day, next Tuesday, the 19th. All first graders in the county will come over to the extension office for Farm Day. So I invite everyone to come out just to see what all we have planned. It's going to be from 9 to 1. If you don't know where our office is located, we are in the old Greenville Middle School. So we're going to be in the parking lot connected to the office. In 4-H news, we've had a very busy month signing up campers to attend summer camp this summer. We're right at 30 4-Hers now. So if you have any volunteers that want to go to camp this summer, I tell the kids it's my favorite week of the year. I enjoy 4-H camp more than I enjoy Christmas. So if you have any family members or friends that want to attend 4-H camp, we have camp for grades 4 through 12. So we have a lot of opportunities. We also have our tomato plant sale and our onion sale going on. Beverly has a list going in her office, so if you want to purchase any Vidalia onions or tomato plants, the onions are $10 for a 10-pound bag of Vidalia onions, and our tomato plants are $1 per plant. Thank you.
Ms. James from IDA. Hopefully I haven't overlooked anyone. Sure.
I do have something I want to say. I didn't think about it a while ago. Just so everybody knows, we are doing a rabies clinic at the animal shelter. Dr. Hendricks will be at the shelter on the 30th. We'll be doing rabies shots for $10 a piece. Everybody, if anybody has a pet at home, please bring them. Let's get them a rabies shot. We have a lot of raccoons and foxes and stuff running around, so we make sure these dogs get the rabies shots. It's going to be March 30th from 1 to 4.
I have to say, what time?
Thank you so much. Okay, next, where there's a need for a public hearing, so I'd like to make a motion that we go into public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to go into public hearing. All in favor? Motion carries. At this time, we would have Kathy and Mr. Gay to go ahead and present our information for our public hearing.
We'll do that.
Come on, Kathy.
Yeah.
A woman.
Yeah, she's doing great, I tell you what, I've been very impressed. This meeting was continued from February 26th. Mr. Ward could not be here at that meeting, but Ms. Ward is with us this morning, and so I'll be happy to just briefly go back through this request and then list the conditions, and then Kathy can add anything that she needs to add, and then Mr. Ward can come up, and then we'll have anyone else who wants to speak.
And if there's any, I'm sorry, is there anyone else who would like to speak and have not had a chance to sign in? We do have a sign-in sheet, and we need your name and address. So is there anyone who'd like to speak on either item for the public hearing? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. David Ward requested to rezone a portion of a 114-acre tract from A1, which is a 25-acre minimum for a home, to RD, which is a 2-acre minimum for future constructions of single-family homes for family members. Mr. Ward has proposed creating originally 4 tracts of 3+ acres along the Flint River. Mr. Ward and I had a conversation, and he actually plans to have the remaining acreage, I think, placed under a federal conservation program. And we reviewed this request, including our Public Works Department, Sheriff's Office, Public Safety, and then we also considered as part of this the standards for the exercise of zoning power. There were some concerns expressed about the ability of public safety to access the homes in the event of an emergency. And we also noted on there that the access information was not provided. There was no mention of the existence of floodplains. Further review noted that the requested property divisions, which originally were 4 tracts, would have created a 5-lot division, and therefore it would have to go under the Meriwether County subdivision regulations, which bring a lot more things into play. In conversation with Mr. Ward, he understood that issue and stated that he'd be fine with the creation of 2 new lots as opposed to the 4 new lots, which he was originally looking to do. Considering these facts and the understanding that the current land use plan is moving away from a 25-acre building lot size, we recommend approval of this with the following conditions. And those conditions would be that property division under this application be limited to 2 tracts, with tract number 1 being approximately 7.49 acres, tract number 2 being approximately 6.76 acres, and he had provided us a plat showing that acreage. The balance of the acreage will remain in the parent tract. 2 tracts totaling 14.25 shall be rezoned to RD. Remaining acreage in the parent tract shall remain as an A1 zoning. Prior to development and or conveyance of these lots, the owner will provide Meriwether County with a survey provided by a registered land surveyor. Surveyor shall also include a 30-foot perpetual easement for the purpose of ingress and egress to each of the lots meeting Meriwether County specifications. Prior to development and or conveyance of lot, owners shall construct a drive access along provided easement, including all necessary streams crossings that will allow Meriwether County emergency vehicles to safely access the lots in the event of emergency. Proposed drive access shall be maintained at all times at property owner's expense in a proper manner to allow emergency vehicle access. Prior to issuance of a building permit, all necessary information such as floodplain elevation, stream setbacks, water and septic provisions will be provided to the Meriwether County building zone. There is a 100-foot setback from Flint River that has to be maintained. All necessary creek and floodplain crossings shall be constructed in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations, and all planned constructions on the lot shall be subject to Meriwether County zoning regulations, including minimum house size. And staff's recommendation, I've gone over this, would be approval with these conditions. Okay, anything else?
Mr. Ward, would you like to make any comments or share anything additional to the board that Mr. Gay has not already brought to our attention?
No, ma'am, he covered everything. The main reason is that if I get the federal conservation and this isn't done, I'll do it later, then there's penalties that have to be paid back to the government. And hopefully they'll help me with the creek crossing, which is about 100 yards from the Cove Road crossing this right now. Just if I can get through it, but I want something that's appropriate out there.
Thank you. All right, after hearing the information from Mr. Gay and also from Mr. Ward, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion that we go out of public hearing. So moved. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I think you need to ask if anybody else wants.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment regarding this rezoning? If not, at this time, I'd like to call for a motion that we go out of public hearing. So moved. Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second that we go out of public hearing. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. At this time, we'd like to call for a vote regarding the rezoning of Mr. David Ward's property located on map 202, partial 40 LD 1.
I make a motion based on their information and the conversations that they've had, and that everything should be in place if we go ahead and allow this.
Okay. Can I get a second?
With the conditions.
With the conditions. All right, that's staff recommendation. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Ms. Beth. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to go, thank you, Mr. Ward. At this time, we'd like to go back in public hearing for the solar energy thing. Can I get a motion for a second? Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second that we go back in public hearing. Can I get a vote? Thank you. We're now in public hearing at this time for the Solar America Energy. Mr. Gay?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, Commissioners, this again was a request that was continued from the last meeting. We've been looking to address some of the buffer concerns. And we do have Mr. Ryan Peters here with us this morning. And Mr. Peters is the representing Solar America and the property owner that's for the rezoning. Going back to it briefly, Solar America Energy is requesting a rezoning and a special use permit to facilitate development of an approximately 3 megawatt solar energy farm. The project area is 36 acres plus or minus, being part of a 63.52 acre parcel owned by Merrill Jean Carlisle Jackson. It's located on Judson Boulevard Road. The current zoning is RD, which allows them to have 2 acres, 2-acre home construction, and they're requesting a rezone to A1, which brings it into a less intense category of 25 acres. And they also want a special use permit for the development of the solar farm. Such property is currently under a conservation use covenant, and construction of the solar farm will breach that covenant. However, there are special provisions under state law that provide for use penalties when the breach is associated with the solar farm development. And in this case, we've looked at it, and there's really no penalty other than, the taxes being made. The request was reviewed by county staff, and all the standards for exercising zoning power were considered. During the review, there were some concerns that were expressed over the proximity to one of Meriwether County's elementary schools. Question arose, should a fire of emergency occur at the facility, the evacuation of the elementary school could present special challenges. The applicant has provided additional information to the county staff and Meriwether County School Superintendent that has addressed those concerns. And considering these facts, Meriwether County staff recommend approval with the following conditions. And you had 11 conditions, but after meeting on site, discussing it again, we have actually another condition that we want to add as part of this. Find my notes. Thank you. That's it. I appreciate it. Number 1, zoning condition. The entire tract of property, 63.52 acres, shall be rezoned to A1. That puts all of it back into the less intense use. Special use permit, however, for development of the solar farm will be limited to the 36-acre tract, which is shown on the preliminary site plan. Prior to the start of the operation of the facility, the applicant will work with Meriwether County Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, 911, EMA, and the school system to develop and approve an emergency operation plan, including but not limited to emergency evacuations, pre-fire plan, emergency notification process. The emergency 24-hour, 365-day per year contact information provided to the Sheriff's Office, EMA, Fire, 911, and the school system. The side and rear setback shall be 100 feet, with a screening buffer meeting Meriwether County standards and approved by Meriwether County Building and Zoning Department. And this condition shall apply to the section of property, the 36 acres, covered under the special use permit. We've also added an additional condition at this point that says within the 100-foot setback on the west and south boundaries of the subject property, applicant shall maintain a 50-foot undisturbed buffer from the property lines. And existing vegetation shall not be removed, but additional plantings for screening purposes is allowed. So, we had some citizens express concern about some large trees, right at the edge, and I think, Ryan said they had to do a shade study. They did that very quickly, got right back with us, and my conversation with Ryan and the property owner, everybody was fine. You guys are willing to leave that 50-foot undisturbed buffer, and actually, I think if they go in and plant some evergreens kind of under there, it will screen things perfectly. So, I think that will work well. We also required a woven wire fence to be installed around the entire perimeter of the 36 acres. Fence shall be a minimum of 6 feet in height with additional 3 strands of barbed wire at the top, and the fence shall be coated wire in either black, green, or some other neutral color. It's approved by the Building and Zoning Department. If the facility is damaged in any manner, the repairs have to be made immediately. Repairs. If the facility is inoperable for a period of 9 consecutive months, the facility shall be removed at owner applicant's expense and properly restored to pre-development condition. The applicant shall provide Meriwether County Building and Zoning with a plan for removal and restoration of the property at the end life of the facility. Grass, brush, other vegetative growth should be maintained at all times for the life of the operation. Special use permit shall only apply for the use of solar farm facility that cannot come back and do anything else. Owner applicant shall pay all taxes and penalties associated with conservation breach prior to beginning construction. And with those 12 conditions, county staff would recommend this application.
Mr. Peters, do you have any comments or want to address the board at this time?
I think we covered it pretty much last time. If anybody has any additional questions, glad to answer them.
And do we have anyone from the general public that would like to speak on this matter? If not, at this time I'd like to call for a motion that we go out of public hearing. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to go out of public hearing back into regular session. I'd like to call for a vote. Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion that we accept the recommendation from Mr. Gay and our planning board to accept the rezoning of the Solar America from the entire tract from, the entire tract of 63.52 acres shall be zoned A1 to the special use permit for the development of a solar farm shall be limited to the 36 plus acres as shown in the preliminary site and along with the conditions that was presented to us. Can I get a motion that we accept it?
I would move to accept it, Madam Chair, with the conditions as you so stated. And I'm right impressed with your presentation. Are you the PE that prepared all this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I move that we accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we're going to move on to unfinished business. The first thing is the appointment to Zoning Board of Appeal. The term expires in 2019. At this time, do we have anyone? I don't have anybody. Any other commissioners? It's a three-member board, so, which means do we need to table this once again?
I move that we table, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Motion carries.
So if any of you citizens know of anyone interested in this, please have them contact Darren and he can let us know.
The next item on unfinished business is appointment to the DFACS Board to fill an unexpired term of Ms. Josie Reeves, District 1. The term ends July 30th, 2019. This is in my district, and I'd like to nominate Ms. Andrea Rice. I did give each commissioner a copy of her resume. It outlines her background and experience. Hopefully you all had an opportunity to read it, but I think she'll be a great asset to the county and to this board. So I'd like to call for a motion. No, I made the motion, I'm sorry. Can I get a second? Okay, so there's been a motion and a second. Can I call for a vote? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Shirley, before we move on, Ms. Johnson, you've been on there all these years, and I've met one time we had said, Lord,
And we do, at this time, we do want to thank her for all her service. Not only has she served on this board, but she's served on several boards in the county, and we do appreciate it. As you can see, it's not easy getting people to want to serve on boards, so we thank her for her service. The next item is appointment to DFACS Board to fill an unexpired term of Mike Mills, District 3. His term ends June the 30th, 2020, and I think this is Commissioner McCoskey.
It is. I have a recommendation for Mike Mills to float Daniel Morgan's name out, and I think he is the one I would highly recommend Daniel Morgan to accept this position.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to appoint Danny Morgan to the DFACS Board. Can I call for a vote? Motion carries. Okay, going into our new business, discussion of support of the Roosevelt Memorial Airport Safety and Area Primary Service Improvement Phase 2. Mr. Gay?
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, this is a long topic. I've tried to catch up with all of you and talk about it just a little bit for the meeting today, on an individual basis. We have with us today our airport authority, which is David. That's coming up. And we also have Bill Everly, is the engineer, the lead edge, and airport engineer. Of course, these guys have been working hard on improving the airport, and I think they really have done a good job with it. We've been trying to remove obstruction clearances from the airport because you have to resolve all of your safety issues prior to being able to get federal and state funding in your allotment to use for other items such as fuel farm, which we're going to talk about. The thought going in to this year was that we're going to have to do the size, and you guys correct me if I'm misstating things here, due to the size of the outcrop of rock and the obstruction clearance on the north end of the runway, we thought it was going to have to be broken down into multiple phases in order to do that. But we got a really good price from a local contractor in the bid process, and the state has been willing to advance our next year's allocation toward this, and then bring in another 75% of the balance of that funding to try to help us be able to move this forward. Once the obstruction clearance is done and there's no safety issues there, then we can move on with state assistance on other projects such as our fuel farm, other things that can be revenue generating. And the airport authority is here today to ask the board for y'all's consideration of helping and supporting this. And I'll turn it over to them at this time. I did talk with GDOT yesterday. Everybody will know I talked to GDOT Aviation. I know this is a lot to absorb because when I sat down and started writing it out yesterday, like multiple pages to try to cover all the history. So it's one of those things that we really need to do. You can take the information today if you want, and if you need to think about it a little bit more, that would be fine. They really need an answer on where we're going by our next meeting. So we got a couple weeks. If there's additional questions you guys have, we could do. If you're ready today, we could certainly move forward today. We're ready to make.
What's the deadline date?
The deadline date is before April 1.
Sorry, probably said that.
Before April 1. So we got a meeting on, I think, the 26th, and that would be the drop-dead decision time for us. So Gotcha.
On behalf of the airport authority, I'd just like to thank y'all for taking time for us and putting us on your schedule this morning. And what Theron said pretty well, he covered it. He covered it well. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Phil. He's going to give our presentation in detail. He's the guy with the numbers and the intimate knowledge of this project.
Great. If you remember, everybody, thank you so much. By the way, last July we did an update on the airport. We did about two presentations. Talking about positive, you've got a base aircraft number that's high, makes you eligible for federal funds now. Georgia's block grant, so those federal funds, FAA funds are running in the state, so it's not state funding, it's FAA funds. Hangars are full, a lot of positives. We have the obstruction removal, some trees, and some high ground FAA criteria that has to be removed. That project is there, and that was expected to take a couple of phases. As late as December, the dollars that were being made available for this next project for us from GDOT, we have a letter that said $300,000. So that's what we were working on. Having opened these bids, the prioritization of the project, the good feeling about everything that's been done at the airport, and that positive in FAA's mind, had them step up and make an offer. Essentially, what you see at the bottom here, in the lower right, you see that a little over $1 million. The FAA column, the federal share, the 691 at the bottom, they're essentially looking at 300 from December that they were offering almost 700,000 in FAA money. Next to that, the 99, 100,000 in DOT money. So essentially, we went from 300,000 that they were offering in December. They're now offering us $800,000, but we have to act quickly. So that's why a bit of the reactionary aspect here. That's fantastic. They're offering that. There's 104 airports in the state. They're not being offered triple the money they were in December like this.
You mean the combination of the federal and state?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Right, together. So about 800, right? 691 and then 99. That's fantastic. The challenge is it requires a local match of the 250. What locally all these projects are, the upper half is the safety area primary surface. That's the high rock that's within 250 feet of the center line runway. It has to come down. Those are safety projects. Those have to be accomplished before we can move to anything revenue generating like fuel farm. That's the upper part. The center section, apron and crack ceiling, that's the apron of the aircraft part. Pavements deteriorate, it's just normal maintenance to do with the crack ceiling remarking of that. They're including that in here. It's also a safety project. Also looped in would be clearing at the very bottom. You see clearing of the 3-6 approach. Those are some trees on the south end that would come down. And then included in this as well is the design of the fuel pump. Because now this is accomplished, we can begin to get into the revenue generating things. So remember back in July we talked about that fuel pump. We have all these positive things, more aircraft coming to the airport. The fuel farm we have now is probably it's old, it's compromised enough. You're actually losing opportunities to sell fuel. So that when you get revenue generation in the fuel farm, that'll pay for itself. But you can also get federal assistance at 90% paying for it once you're past the safety thing. So huge positive is that we're offered a chunk of dollars here from FAA in order to get this all done in one shot. Challenge is you didn't have any lead time on it.
So it's going to cost $12,000 to have it designed.
That's just
Have to where you
design.
put a tank and a dispenser.
Yeah, if you remember when we talked in July about this fuel pump, it's not just that, it's the location and the permitting of the location and the height and all the things that have to be done to it, I think, right?
Let me ask you another question too. When you did the presentation last year to us, you said that the Meriwether County Airport is one of the oldest standing airports in its history. And I understand that we are responsible for a certain amount of match due to federal and state obligations. But is there not a historical something that the additional money can come from?
Not for this.
Okay.
However, like we talked a little bit in that presentation, I will talk about more when we do an update, we do one this summer again. So you're 3 years away from that 90th anniversary, and there's only a couple, Daniel Field and Augustus from 1927, but there's not many airports in Georgia as old as we are. So if we look at that as a potential milestone where this is not the most exciting project in the world where you cut down rocks and dirt. What we have to do is a safety project to get to the other creative stuff. One of the things we talked about is the aspect of the location, the big grassy areas out in front, all that, but we can do the new entrance road in rather than the old one by the jail. New entrance road in, the fuel farm, and do something out there where we can have community events out there as well. There's some things related to historical grants on items like that that we can do. This one, because of the nature of the work, it's not. But we do have an opportunity to get into some of that and we're creative on that.
Well, let me ask you this, what is, and this may not come from you, but what is the annual profit or income at the airport?
I don't have those numbers available to me today.
Do you think it's anywhere near 250,000?
It is not, but it can be if we do this. I mean, this is kind of the start.
Right, from your FAA grant, it's just like all airports accept FAA money. One of the caveats is revenue generated at the airport has to be invested back in the airport. So the way you actually extract benefit, economic ripple effect, ad valorem tax from more based aircraft, provides more ad valorem, especially as the aircraft get larger. So that's the source. So more based aircraft is the way to generate money that actually gets the farmers.
The reason I ask that, and I do not want you to misquote me in the paper. So listen closely. I'm recording. Yeah, listen closely. I don't want the airport to go anywhere. I don't want anybody to ever think that, but I do have a concern that we are every year putting a lot of money into the airport, and though the federal and state are putting even more and it's going to progress, I do want us to see us get to a point where we are making a profit without putting money and losing it to an airport that is not a major airport but a historical, and that's why I don't want to lose it, and I'm not even suggesting that. I just want to start seeing profit, because every time it's more money into something that's not really making money.
Understand? So
I would like to address that, Bill, because in the meeting there Monday, it came out, you're willing, the airport authority itself is willing to add $25,000 out of their account right now to help defray the expense. So they're doing pretty well as far as, better than I have ever seen them do with the money they're making. The other thing here, what Phil is saying, if you listen closely, we've got to address this if we want to make progress. And true, it's our share here is a larger percentage than it will be in the near future. The thing is, we've got to overcome these safety things. We've got to get a taxiway down there, a full-length taxiway, because we can attract more people, more of the school, this sort of thing. When you have to go to the end of the runway and then announce and back taxi that runway, it is very much a safety feature, especially if you're a student.
Yeah, that part I
This type thing.
But, when we extended it, I'm wondering why that wasn't brought up at the time to
It
address
was
that.
supposed to have been, and it got dropped.
I'll say this, your extension allows the planes that operate that come into your airport to take up fuel and come from farther away. So you up the activity level of the airport at that. Your revenue picture out of the airport comes from fuel sales and hangar rental and ad valorem.
And I'll be honest with you, I saw almost 2 years ago that the fuel system was done, and that's my ignorance, because I know we talked about it, we talked about putting it in because of the issues, and then when you all came back in June and presented this to us, I was baffled, because I honestly thought it was in place.
And you actually didn't even have a project last year.
No,
This money, that's how you had 300, so there was no local match on any projects at the airport last year. So, and then prior to that, you're back with phase one, where you went down by the old house, and essentially these safety items, from having accepted FAA money in the past, you have an obligation to keep the airport up from a safety standpoint. So this is a liability that you have to take care of. They're gonna help financially.
Well, I don't want anybody to think that I want it to go away. That's not it at all.
And our
Look,
is to get
if we can get $791,000 from state and federal, and we have to match $250, that's $1 million profit. I mean, we're already ahead on that, but I do want to see at some point where we're not having to dump money into something, and 2 years later, I don't want to hear that there's not a fuel farm there.
And the fuel farm funding will have to be taken care of, obviously, or there won't be.
I do have a question. So apparently, at some point in time, you all thought this could have been done in 3 phases. And so you're saying to us now that the time frame that you thought you could do this in, you don't have that time frame anymore.
Well, it's-
So it's got to be done much sooner than anticipated.
You can, the funding
The
flow.
funding
the
for it.
funding flow was not anticipated. Again, in December, you're into 300, which meant for $1 million project, there's going to be a phase 3.
Okay.
They flipped now and offered you a bigger chunk.
At
but
one
it's kind
time.
of-
At one time. Okay.
DOT's making us a gift for another year.
I get that. I think the thing that I want to get some clarity on is the total amount that the county has to contribute. You had mentioned 25,000 from the airport authority. So what is the
Right.
total amount that you need from the county?
So total local share, the 250 at the bottom. So there's 25 from the authority. Potential to help
So-
more.
I'm sorry, what's the amount
So
from the
really
county?
225.
225.
Once we get to the fuel form, I know the 12,000 is for the design, but you're saying we would be eligible for a grant for 90% of the actual fuel form, is that right?
And if you remember, we talked in July, yes. However, they're taking this grant now, part, 150,000 of what FA's offering in this is your money from next year, 150.
So it'd be the next year.
So it'd be your, if you went out front with it, for example, reimbursement, that would be fiscal year 20.
And that's what we had talked about, was up in fronting the
Right,
money
right.
for the fuel. We discussed that last year.
Right, so in July, the anticipation, I think the way I said, would be a couple years out, because you have to finish these safety items first.
Okay.
Effectively, this finishes your safety item, so you can get a year quicker to the reimbursement.
So because we're taking this and we're very appreciative of the opportunity to take that, can we request next year for 2021 to do the fuel farm?
Because yes.
Yes, we do.
So what would happen is, like in July, because the expectations is probably going to take multiple years, I believe what I said, you're probably 3 years out on a reimbursement than if you went up front. In this case, this will be done, so now FY 2021 is October 1st of 20, which usually it's the spring by the time that money's available, so you're looking at spring of 2021. If you went for
Okay, Commissioner Bray has a question.
So my question is, since this was not in the budget, where would this money come from? And what other projects will be left going lacking because we are putting so much money out? Or,
You're going to have to give up some roads.
no, I'm not giving So that's my question. Where is the money coming from since this was not budget? And how do we, if we decide to do it, how are we going to pay for it?
We've looked at several pools of funds. Darren and I talked about this extensively. The most, probably the best area would be that solid waste that we're holding, $900-something.
You talking about the landfill?
Escrow.
So we can't use that money
You
now?
can't use that money. That money came from excess SPOS years ago, and you can't use that for items in your current SPOS, such as transportation and those kind of things. So we can use that money. In fact, we're going to have a conversation with the auditors this afternoon to point this in that direction. So it won't affect the budget. I know the first two items are, I think we've already put bids for those and awarded those contracts. So those would come to that. We can budget for that third one, that 27,000 local share with the runway approach and the fuel farm side. We can budget that in next year's budget because of that. So that will drop that down.
We need a fuel form like yesterday.
Yeah.
Right, which gets to the revenue generating stuff. Your one obstacle is this stuff.
So you gotta do-
Expectation would be that it was gonna take multiple.
So you're going to have to do the 2 phases first to even get to that. So you're saying, Bill, is that, I guess the other thing I want to ask is, what is the time frame to clear this? For phase 1 and phase 2, to get it done?
Right, so it was just bid. At the bid opening, which is only about a week ago, at the bid opening is when DOT began talking about offering a bigger chunk, when they saw the dollar amount.
Why, because it came much over?
Under.
It came much under? Okay.
The expectation is about $1 million project, right? So you have the the construction alone, as you had, McCoy grading is a little better. At 812, they're over $100,000 under the second bid. So that's somebody local stepping up to try and be helpful, and they certainly understand this and what getting these projects done means as far as us moving forward with the field.
And I have another question, and my questions are based on
Yes.
my ignorance to all of this, so that's why I asked so that you can guide. At any given point with what we have to do out there with removal of anything, is there any area that we would have to remove parts of the earth or parts of what have you that would be where the fuel farm would need to be? And the reason I'm asking is, if it was, then I'm going to go ahead and look if it could all be done possibly at one time so that we didn't have to come back and pay that to get.
Right, and that's exactly how we want to approach things out here. That fuel front's getting mounted, it'll be put in the central terminal area. However, even if 10 years down the road, there's some other development or some other company, and we need to move that, it's getting mounted, a couple $1,000 is a very easy one.
Yeah, because if we were going to spend $20,000, $30,000 removing part of what needs to be there, then let's just.
In even this big project, it is to get things, everything has to be lower than the runway center line.
Okay.
So you cut this down, this is not tree, this is rocks and terrain, so it's not organic, it doesn't grow back. So once that's done, that's done.
Okay.
I think there's another thing we need to mention too, Phil. On the fuel farm itself, he has told you when the money would be allocated and when we can apply. That does not mean we cannot proceed if we can find other monies to do so, and then that becomes our reimbursement at that time.
That's what we talked about.
90% back.
90% back. 'Cause once we do this, we're 90% eligible at that point.
That's right, this is the milestone. So you can actually get approval for the reimbursement at the point if you find another funding source, you want to purchase a new fund. At the point that's about to happen, we would get written communication from GDOT that it's eligible 90% with your 2021 shot of 150.
And on the fuel farm, the problem we were having was, that we've had since I've been here, has been the issue of the tracking, the fuel cards, et cetera. The internet service has been terrible, so that's the problem that they've kind of worked through. I know Skip's helped some with that, and the guys at the Airport Authority have tried to really manage that as best they can. But the other day, when the GDOT aviation representative was there, we asked that very same question Mr. Buster was talking about, and that is, if we went ahead and proceeded with the fuel farm, could we get that reimbursement? And could it account for it if they did say that it could? And I don't want to put words into these guys' mouth, but I think that there was also some discussion at their authority meeting that as the fuel farm and other things come in, they could kind of help reimburse us, for some of the dollars we didn't spend as well. So,
Quicker we get the fuel farm in,
yes,
quicker we're gonna see some return.
that's right.
And without this.
I mean, I just don't see any reason not to do it at the same time, because then we start getting some money back.
Right.
Reach
So,
out, sister.
exactly. So, in the other thing, now you're getting transient dollars. and
That's
pretty
right.
fair. So they're outside the county budget. And
That we have
And how
lost
much is
to
the
pay.
fuel farm to install?
it's, a bid is gonna come in around 150 to 160.
Can we pull that out of the landfill too?
But we don't know.
We're gonna make Bill nervous in a minute.
So, I'll catch you.
Still, solid waste.
Yeah,
I
it was something
will
else
add-
we wanted to do.
Yeah, I will add this, that does not put you in a position, because you have to bid it, that's how the reimbursement's eligible. It puts you in a position that you can bid it whenever you want to. So if you elected to go forward, it'd be bid, you'd see the number, and then decide whether,
I just want to make a comment. Thank you for the information. This is a lot of information to take in at one time. And I personally would like to get something more in writing and read a little bit more. I know we've got to make a decision, and whatever the board chooses as a whole. But I'm for the project. I just want to see the numbers a little bit more, and I personally would like to see more in writing. Bill has shared to us what he feels he can do, but we need to be confirmed we can do some of these actions. And knowing that it's due by April 1st, we do have an opportunity to vote on this at a later date if the board chooses to, or we can vote on it today. But it is a lot of information to take in at one time. I understand you got the information kind of late. You know, it came really quick to you, but once again, that's a major step.
Can we put out bids for the fuel farm before the next meeting too?
You probably wouldn't have time.
What we would do is, we would have to share that package, to get that written approval, then put it out, and it has to be out for 30 days.
But it is something that can be done.
It can be done,
It can
yeah.
at least give you a general
Yeah, 'cause I'm like,
idea.
if we can get it done and start getting some revenue.
You might
Yeah.
be, maybe impressed, and I'll say this also, through everything that's been done at the airport, all those improvements, the extension, every one of those things, well in advance of being considered for budget and everything has been done. This was a real curveball for the airport authority. It's a great curveball versus bad curveball, but it's very reactionary. So the airport authority actually had a meeting Monday to deal with that, so they could disseminate this enough to have it ready to even present.
Or tell them if they gave us more money at one time, it wouldn't have to be asking for so many years.
It would be great. It would be great. But I'll say again, in the hierarchy of the 104 airports that base aircraft and all that, that is an exceptional level of dollars to be offered. And again, this last milestone that we didn't offer it.
One other way to make these dollars that we're talking about, put them in perspective is, if we hadn't done this, or not at that point, and we spent $150 plus design on fuel farm, we wouldn't have any opportunity for reimbursement. So under this scenario, we're spending a little bit more to get these things clear than we would have for fuel farm, but in reality, we're going to get that dollars back too. So this number we're committing, if we went for fuel farm, we wouldn't get that back without this. So my point is that 200,000 is back down to around 50 times
You effectively did on the 10-unit, brand new 10-unit T-hanger out there, which gets you to pass the 10-based aircraft that made you eligible to even get FAA money. That was done the same way, with the same kind of funding. So you have your debt free, the day it was built, you were debt free on the T. So that's where that money's coming from.
And more hangars, once the safety issues, but more hangars could be built too.
That's in the plan. And that's where
dollars.
What is McCoy's construction timetable?
It's a 90-day time. But Bill, we can work with him. Their start date, grant category, that's their start date.
What I'll do is, like when we put together an issue paper for you guys, put it on your next agenda. The information is, as these guys said, we got it, I got a call last Thursday or Friday, but I didn't have the numbers, and we saw some of this for the first time, I did at least on Monday, I think you guys did too. So it didn't give us a lot of time, but we put together those, we can show you where the funding is coming from. We talked a little bit about even what I was just saying about advancing the, building the fuel farm. Without this, we'd be out that 150. But if we do this, then that 150 is reimbursable, so it reduces that impact a little bit. But we will need to make a decision by your next meeting.
Well, is there any reason we can't make a decision today contingent on the fact that y'all can find the money?
That's right, that's what I was.
No, there's not.
I think that would kind of help us with the DOT too. At least they can smile. We're smiling favorably on what they're offering.
Well, and that way it's in motion, and if they do find out, you can go ahead and move forward instead of waiting.
Yes, well, we'll find the dollars. We're meeting with the auditors today, but we'll find the dollars. I mean, this is a little over $1 million project. We're covering about 23% of that, and that also includes some design that GDOT would pick up. That's a pretty good investment.
For the airport authority's contribution, we're doing 23%.
Yeah, I'll say this, this money's gonna be somewhere this year, so if we don't take it.
Somebody
They have to allocate it very quickly
Well, I
somewhere.
think we have to take it, but, I'd like to make a contingency, when we do it, the contingency upon being able to use the landfill money. I don't want to just find it somewhere and it cause a decrease somewhere else, so that's best, is
all wards up to airport, it's everyone's district. So at this time, we need to get a motion that we,
I'll make a motion that we move forward contingent upon the funds being available with what bill and bear in mind.
And they bring it back to us at our next
Yeah.
meeting.
so there's been a motion, and is there a second?
I second, yes.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second, and call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I'll, those plats I got, I'll give you a call, I'll get those to you. Okay, thank you.
The next new business item is award of the bid for the 2019 LMIG. Mr. Gay?
Yes, ma'am. Chairman, we, last Friday, we, staff opened bids for our 219 LMIG. Last year, as you know, we were, kind of a little bit later in the year due to the conflict, everything was getting that list out. But this year, we, went ahead and we moved forward on taking care of this. And the sheet I'm passing out will show you the 2018 LMIG that we have under contract and 2019 LMIG that we're planning on doing. And the low bid on this was Piedmont Haven. They've got the project up in they got the 2018 project as well as this project, and they came in, it was really some competitive bids this year. It was like incredibly close, but again, they were the low bid, and CW Matthews was the low bid amount was $1,223,780.82. Comes out.
Repeat that again, I'm sorry, 1 million?
Yes, ma'am, $1,223,780.82. And of that dollar, about $7.15, somewhere thereabouts is GDOT LMIGs, and the balance of it is a match coming out of our sales tax. Again, this was under my estimate when we run the numbers and where this should be, so it looks like a very good bid. They're a good contractor. And you've got this list of roads here, and with Piedmont having, if the board approves it, both of the contracts, you're going to see a lot of road work. This is about 25 miles or so of road work and resurfacing and restriping that you're going to see, coming out of, being applied here in Marion County. So,
Would they do the 2018 before they start on the 2019?
what they will probably do, Ms. Mary, is they'll probably work it in conjunction with it. If I were them, I would, because if I'm, say, over on a 2018 and right next door, I've got a 2019 project to reduce mobilization costs or whatever, I would simply move right over there.
So
But
like,
they'll be doing all of it, I think, at one time.
so like Gold Mine Road was part of 2018 and Ross Lee is 2019, since they're right there together. Okay.
That would be the way that I would work, and I'm sure they are too. They're not gonna go back and do these and then turn right around and do these. They'll do them as one huge project, which in reality will help us get it done quicker too.
That's great. I just don't want to see the 2018 end up in 2020 and they still haven't been done and we have already done the 2019.
They'll do all of them this year. All of them this year.
And they started on any of the 18 yet? I mean, I know weather's a
They've done
factor, but
a few, guys that they've done patches. And, once, if you guys approve this today, I'm going to contact them, let them know what's been approved, and then from there, I'm going to get dates and start times where they can go ahead and get this knocked out. Now's we've been in a period of time where, due to the weather, you just can't pay. It's been wet, not many cold days, but some cold days. But now, the weather's getting where they should not have any issues with getting this done.
There, can we request of them to go ahead and maybe narrow it down for the larger 2018 project to start, and then whatever's in conjunction with that, do that right there in that area first?
We can do that. And I'll talk to them about
All right, at this
And
time.
our recommendation would be awarding it to allow the chairman to sign the contract. Only thing we're waiting on now is the performance and the bonds. So once we get those in, we'll be ready to go.
All right, so call for a motion that we accept the bid for the award bid for 2019 League.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to accept.
And allow the chairman to sign.
Yeah, and allow the chairman to sign the contract. There's been a motion and a second to accept the award bid for 2019 League. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor? The motion carries. Thank you. And then I will sign that. Okay, our next item on our agenda is the appointment of county attorney.
Chairman. Commissioners, we have with us today Mr. Nathan Lee from Glover and Davis Law Firm. They have Mr. Lee has extensive experience in representing local governments and, school systems, counties, cities. Does a great job. They also have a firm with Glover Davis that is pretty much a full-service law firm. I do have experience in working with Mr. Lee and his other partners, and I will say that they do a fantastic job, and they're able to cover all facets. In fact, we had something come up here about, 2 or 3 months back that we had to find someone who was kind of specialized. They ended up taking that for us and are moving that case along. So, I know you guys have talked to Mr. Lee, and I just wanted to say that, I'm glad that y'all are considering him for this position. Be happy to answer any questions, or Mr. Lee can answer this question.
What I'd like to say is that we thank Nathan for what he has done for us so far, and he's a great asset. I think anybody within 200 plus miles in any government entity knows who Nathan Lee is. He's got an extensive government law background, and I know there's going to be concerns and questions in the communities about him actually representing Manchester, representing Woodbury, representing the county. I assure every citizen in this county that this board took it into consideration. We've asked the appropriate questions. Everything is in place that if anything were to come as a conflict of a city and the county at some point, all that's taken care of. We will at that point move forward, and I don't want that to be a concern of anybody. Working with him prior to this and with Mr. Gay knowing him as well, and his abilities and knowledge that he has, I'd like to make a recommendation that we do move forward with contract with Glover Davis with Nathan Lee being our primary counsel.
Is that in the motion?
Is that a motion?
Okay. Okay, so there's been a motion and a second that the Board of Commissioners go into a contract with Glover and Davis with Mr. Nathan Lee being the representative for Glover and Davis. Can I get a call for a motion, call for a vote?
You have anything to say?
Speech.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I thank you.
Just hold on for the ride.
That's right.
All right. Once again, Mr. Lee, we are pleased to have you on board and looking forward to working with Glover and Davis as well as yourself. Thank you so much. All right, our next item number 4, is the volunteer service agreement with Coweta County Water and Sewer for Tracy Thigpen to serve on the Meriwether County Water and Sewer Authority. Mr. Gay, would you address that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is really something that the Water and Sewer Authority have already voted on here, and I just really brought it back where you guys can be aware of the records. I talked with the director of Coweta Water and Sewer, Ms. Thigpen Works, and she's a really good asset, not only for them, but also for our board. And they just really wanted to have an agreement and understanding that they would not have any liability on anything here from her presence on this board or being an employee of them. And, I didn't see any issue with it whatsoever. It was just kind of covering their base. But they did go back to their board, and they are willing to allow her to serve.
So do we need to take any action? Simply as we've already voted her on the board.
I would
So
just
was it-
accept this into the
just-
records where
okay.
you'll know that it's like,
Do I need to make a motion that we accept this in the records? Okay. All right. Based on the information that Mr. Gage just shared with us about Tracy Thigpen serving on the Water and Sewer Authority Board, can I get a motion that we accept this document?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that we accept the documentation from the Coweta County Water and Sewer Authority for the appointment of Tracy Thigpen to serve on the Meriwether County Water and Sewer Authority. Can I call for a motion? Sure.
Just want to clarify to people that Ms. Thigpen is actually a resident of Meriwether County.
That's right.
This will be a confusion that she's just connected. She may work in Coweta, but she's truly a resident of Meriwether County.
that's right.
And I would also say been a longtime resident of Meriwether County. And one of the things that I believe this board is always trying to do is identify people in the community that has certain skill sets and background that could assist us in the decisions that we have to make. And she has been a part of this Water and Sewer Authority in that field for over 20 years. So I believe she'll be a great asset to the board as well as the county. Thank you for your comment. At this time, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the next item is item number 5, planning recognition of Manchester and Meriwether County basketball team for the winning 12 and under girls and 9 and boys under for the GRPA State Championship report on public works and personnel needs. That is great. Who is here to present that?
Actually, what I was doing, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, I want to, just number one, I wanted while the news is near where to get it out. And number two, I wanted to set up time and make sure you guys were okay with us bringing these young adults in, or children, yeah, I'm sorry, in for the next meeting where we can recognize them with these proclamations and everything for them. But this is part of our Meriwether County, Manchester Recreation Department. And these, the girls, the 12 and under girls won the state championship in the Georgia Recreation Park Association tournament, and as did the 9 and under boys. This was the first championship for any of the girls coming in the, in the recreation program. So we wanted to say congratulations to them and to all the coaches and all the rec folks who helped put this on and get this team going. So what we'd like to do is bring them into y'all's next meeting and just recognize them at that time. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up.
Good idea. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7 is appointment to, I'm sorry.
Public Works.
Yeah, report on public works and personnel needs. Sorry about that.
Before we do this, should that be in the,
Do we need to make a motion?
no, but I'm asking, should this be during a work session instead of here?
Well, we have a work session that day.
We got a work session next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can, whatever y'all want to do. I mean, they've kind of, you've got the report put together. We can talk about it more
I mean,
detail.
that's fine, I just thought we usually did things like that in work sessions.
Well, the last one we did was a general session.
Whichever.
Well, one of the things, if I guess would be helpful, these guys can't really develop a final plan and program to present to you guys on what we want to do, how we're going to organize it, until they have a good feel for what their staffing levels are going to be. Because if we can't afford any staffing, they're going to have to deal with what they got. If we can get half or the, I think 6, they're suggesting.
We'll get your staff, we're gonna pull out the landfill money.
We're going to have to start selling part of them.
Yeah, we can develop a tighter plan once we know where we stand, sure.
Well, I mean, we've had this discussion before. You all just giving us where you at right now? Is that what you've been presenting?
I'm just kind of going to make a recommendation of what I feel that Carl and I work together on this,
All right.
on what's needed, so, Madam Chairman, Board Commissioner. We're going to kind of discuss the personnel needs, so we looked at over several months now, the conditions of roads, bridges, right-of-ways and things in the county. We've also looked at the existing equipment, manpower, trucks that they have currently. And then I took it and broke down the basic operations and maintenance of public works, so drainage, road maintenance,
put any names or anything with it, I just kind of broke down details or operations that needed staffing. So, and looking at, we need, I think, a dedicated motor grader crew and then a dedicated drainage crew. And on the top would be a special projects crew, and that's just something that maybe fill in for projects like Lake Meriwether, work in the city of Greenville and Ballfield, some of these other projects that just continually come in that Terrell has to rob from his current staff, whether it's right-of-way crew or operator crew that are out making repairs. He has to rob those crews to do these special projects.
It's, guys, this would allow, I know we've got motor grader equipment that we're running a few days, something comes up, we have to pull that crew onto something else. And I know the goal would be to run that motor grader every day, weather permits. Because I know we're buying and paying those, so you don't want equipment just
Not
sitting.
having to run out and fix a washed out cross drain or something like that. So currently the department has 27 positions in the public department. So with all that said, the biggest need that I see is personnel. So one recommendation would be on the second page would be that you add 6 positions, and I've got it listed below that would allow you to have 2 boom mower crews, 2 motor grader crews, which is 6 employees, and that's where the big impact comes in. 1 dedicated
So those
drainage
would
crew.
be new positions. The first 2 sections would be the new positions.
The first 2. Well, I didn't really organize it based on the new positions, because Terrell has recently hired 2 more operators.
CDL, motor grader operators.
So this would just be positions total. He may end up just hiring 2 laborers, but.
Would you like me to shut up, not interrupt you?
So, and then they'd give you dedicated right-of-way crews, asphalt crew, sign crew, special projects crew. Then you have building maintenance and fleet maintenance. Now these have 4 apiece that are existing, and that's where some of his numbers start dropping on personnel out to do adequate maintenance, things like that. Then you've got Miss Sue over there as administrative assistant, director, and deputy director. So if you added 6, that would give you a total of 33 positions here, and the list above would give you those dedicated crews.
Let me ask you this, if we added additional boom mower and motor grader, and it's recommended 4 operators, does that mean an increase in actual equipment? Would we have to purchase new? You have to...
Only another boom axe and a couple more grass cutters. But right now, as far as the drainage and motor grader crews, we're set for all of that.
And that was one thing I looked at, is trying to use and utilize the equipment that county has now. And there's some other equipment that you could have to improve the drainage.
27 employees, does that include the one you hired this last week?
Yes.
And you're still short, 2, out of that 27 currently.
So I do have a question. So to be fully operating, and you're saying we need a total of 33 people on staff at all times, basically. And then here you give us the cost for 6 new person annually, what that would cost us.
That's an
Estimated cost, and that
Gives another option too on the
Well,
next page.
right now we have 4 part-time guys included in this person.
Yes, that's included in the 27.
4 part-time.
4 part-time seasonal, I guess you call it. And on this first page is that special projects crew. There's a couple employees there.
And that would, if you had that, that's a crew that could be pulled and moved place to place.
Yeah, the special project crew could we'd work on culverts like River Cove and things, and then combine that with the drainage crew. But you're putting in driveway pipes that are dealing with driveway pipe problems, clogs, and replacement. You got a lot of metal pipes, and metal pipes continue to rust out. So that's the drainage crew, something's got to really take place all the time.
So to increase the number of employees, we would not have to purchase more equipment, or we would have to purchase some?
Well, we already got the right-of-way tractors and the boom mower approved.
if we did not buy the boom mower, then that would impact that boom mower crew for two. You wouldn't have that piece of
How
equipment
much is a
operating.
regular piece of equipment?
Pardon?
How much did the price of that boom max?
Roughly.
130, 138, something like that. On the next page, put a scenario together where you might have, where you only added 33 more employees, which would give you a total of 30. And then I kind of highlighted where that would affect some of those numbers, like your special project crews. You wouldn't really have that at all. And it may affect your boom mower crews, kind of depending on how we have to organize it.
What is fleet maintenance? I know it's
That's mechanic.
Okay.
Are you short mechanical?
Yes, ma'am. We only have 4 guys working in the shop now. I have 400 of mechanics to operate the boom max that we already have.
And your mechanics just don't do the work for your department, but it does work for other parts of the county as well?
Sheriff Department.
Sheriff Department and everybody else, okay.
When I look at this layout, you've done some work here, I can see that. What do you do to cover for vacation, sick time, and what have you? Because when you get down to 2 on a crew, is that safe to have just one person per crew? Say somebody's out sick or somebody's on vacation, how will you handle that?
I never seen anyone out alone. Never.
Okay,
Never.
so in the case of your special projects people there, you can use them somewhere else and it doesn't make...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And normally, if I'm short on this crew, I'll just shut this crew down for the day and just run this crew.
And run that, okay.
But Terrell, isn't part of the problem is that you've been so short for such a long period of time and not having very skilled workers in certain areas that it allows you to be so far behind?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, I guess my other thing is, it seems, and this is just an observation on my part, it seems to really take a long time to hire people. And I know Meriwether County is no different. There's just so many people looking to get people in public works. What is the time frame to get someone ready and to come to work? And because we're getting ready to get into a busy season, so.
As of now, I like to promote within as far as my guys who's already been there versus going out and hiring somebody over them and bringing them in and making more money. But
Then you have to replace them.
Yeah, but right now, I'm just at a standstill. I got to do what I got to do, because if we don't get this drainage crew, we go do the motor grading on the road, it's not going to do any good without the proper drainage. We're going to fall back into the same thing that this one.
Are the applications there?
Yes.
Do you have enough to hire from?
Yes, I have a stack of applications.
Good.
So what has been the main reason for not hiring, just not knowing what your budget consists of?
I actually just trying to get these positions approved. That's all.
Well, let me ask you this, in the 4 part-time that you have the 4 seasonal, are any of those individuals interested or share any interest in maybe becoming full-time?
Yeah, there's one guy we are going to make full-time. He's part-time right now, but he asked for part-time when he started because he has got problems. But most of my part-time guys, they're retired, and they only make so much money a year, and we bring them in during grass season. We pick off the grass. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So what are you needing from this board today, Mr. Gage? Is approval to expand, to bring on these more employees?
That's
Then that
the board's
basically what desire of the board?
Right.
Okay.
Because right now, he has so many dispositions approved, and he's still feeling, you're a couple short right now, but that's just going to get him back to the 27.
Probably always short somebody.
Yeah. Right. And really, to be able to get the motor grader crews, I think the plan has been to put the motor grader crews out there every day. And we want to, instead of skipping here and there, which is what we have to do now, I think the plan would be to scrape every road.
We'd have the northern and southern
Yeah, every year.
We'll even develop a route, put the list together.
Oh, that would be great. Something I see here that leaps out, you're actually taking a very proactive stance here with what you're doing with the, and instead of knee-jerk or having to run and be yelled here or pulled over there, I see a very proactive stance with this, and that's something that the county is needed for.
Wow. Just kind of set up these maintenance crews, and that's their major from another crew to cover that, but, that's just something you have to do.
Let me ask this, Tyrell. On the sign, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. On the sign crew, I guess I talked too much today. Do you really need 2 employees? Is that something that, I know, there was one just replaced on one of the roads I live on, but is that something that needs to be? Here's the reason why I'm asking. If we have someone like that and they're not needed all the time, could we utilize that person who may be stagnant for a while not doing that as one of the, as you have it listed here, laborers under the motor grader crew? So if we could do something like that, because I just don't see where there's a full-time position for 2 people to do signs in the county. I think that could be one person, and like I said, if we don't have a necessity for it, then utilize that person. And also, and I'm sure you probably already do this, cross-training. And when we have this person that may need to take a break from the boom axe, that a motor grader may not need to do that part, and that person run that boom axe. So if we have that, I think that we have those positions going there all the time. But I do question the sign crew, the necessity of having 2.
The reason that, I'm sorry.
So I was just going to add that, you stated that you never sent one person out at a time by themselves, so.
No, labor stuff.
No, the reason that we added the sign crew in, because our asphalt crew is our sign crew and the grass cutting. So
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if we do the sign crew and there's 2 there, we probably don't need maybe 1 laborer addition on the motor grader if we could utilize that other sign person down, because I don't think there's going to be 2.
I hear what you're saying, and once again, we have to take into consideration the size, and we also have to take into consideration how far behind we are currently. So at some point in time, what I'm hearing, you all cross-train and you utilize people wherever you need.
Yes.
It's just that in a structural part of your outline, this is what you feel that you need in order to function.
Right.
So if you don't need it, then that's fine, but it's best to have it budgeted in than not to have it budgeted in. And so each one of these departments, their pay scale will be different according to their job description as well.
Doing budgets myself, I'm actually thinking so that if we were to hire all these people and we realize 6 months down the road, hey, we really don't need all of these people, at that point, we've done an injustice to these employees that we've hired. So I'm all about hiring people and making sure that we can maintain and retain those people. But I don't want to overhire.
My part-time seasonal guys, they work like 4 or 5 months for us, and then we let them go to the next year. So the main ones that we actually need are drainage crew, our motor grader crew, and special project. And if we get those, we'll be perfectly fine. But I would like to have those 2 guys on the signs, because there's always trash. We get called for in the middle of the day for anything. Hey, can you come help do this? Can you do this?
They could do your mowing down.
Right.
And there's also
this building, Health Department in Manchester, Greenville, the roundabout, Sequoia Drive. We have to do a little stuff up at the industrial park sometimes, help battery out,
And I want to make things easier for you, because I know you bust your butt and you're out there all the time doing it. I just don't want to overhire and have to let somebody go and disappoint those individuals. That's something I don't want to do.
One of the things with that is you are going to have turnover. And if you get to a point where you say, well, gosh, we really didn't need this, we just won't fill that position.
Right.
And considering how lack we have in the summer, for the sake of time, I know we need to move on. At this time, you just want us to be able to put in a vote for the number 27? For the additional 6?
Yeah, if the board...
Or look at the other options that's been presented.
Either one, right. Anything.
So you have...
Maybe 3 this year, since there's only 6 months left, and here I think we're on the 6-month mark, so that approximate annual cost to go down by half, approximately. We're almost on the 6 months
But if you
of this
do the
budget.
6, as Mr. Gates said, you're always going to have, or you said, you're always going to have positions empty. So if we only do 3, and they say, half of them stay empty, we're not really doing much more than what we're doing now. So if we do the 6 and know that we're going to have some vacant positions most time, I think we stand a better chance
of having a crew.
And I'm just telling you, if the citizens see motor grader crews out working all the time, it will go a long way, because I know we have to move them sometime and set them somewhere, just because, I mean, you don't have any choice.
Right,
but
then maybe
there's
we're fixing to
nothing
grind
anybody
the
hates any worse than seeing a piece of equipment sitting on the side of the road. So if we have these crews actually out there going, I think it's just gonna go a long way for getting these things.
And I agree, and I want to see it, because it will make a difference. I know I think way too much, but I just don't want that to become an option, and we have to let somebody know.
Another insurance on that sign crew is, there's an obligation to meet the MUTCD standards for signs.
Right.
Sure. Regulations on any public road. So we
And a
can
lot of
start.
a lot of ours are not in compliance right now.
There's a lot of work that can be done to become in compliance. You're supposed to record your collectivity, be able to manage that. If you can't show that, you can,
Well, I think it boils down to this. It's our job to give you the people. It's your job to massage it and make it work.
That's right.
I mean, that's that simple.
I guess Buster told me to shut up.
Very nicely, though.
I would just like to add that, when you add position, of course, you add costs.
Yeah, because it's not just going to be this, it's going to be the insurance.
Yeah, I understand.
That's what y'all do.
Well, and then at the end of the day, we're so far behind, we've got to do something. I mean, the citizens deserve more, and we as a board need to do everything we can. And I still think there's other options on the board that we can look at, subcontracting some things, going back, and I presented to you about using state inmates. So this is just getting us started. So if you always go back and revamp.
And Tyrell, if we do this, and we give you these people, in 6 months, if you have to let somebody go, please call me so I can say to this board.
Let it go. I seriously think that would not be the problem. Because in District 1 alone, he's got enough work to keep him busy. And I know Ms. Beth and her district feels like that's enough to keep him busy. So at this time, we like to call for a motion to...
I'll make the motion for the increase of 6 people. How about that? That'll shut everybody up.
I will second the motion. So there's been a motion and a second to increase Public Works Department to 6 additional new positions. I call for a vote. Okay. Motion carries. All in favor? Go forward. I'm gonna say to the newspaper, that is the biggest part of your article. That needs to be, that's to be on 1 page.
It needs to be bold
And big.
With that, I shall see what I can do. Yeah, with that, they can put together an action plan, so they know what staff that they got. Thank y'all.
Thank you, gentlemen, for all the hard work that you do. We truly appreciate what you all do. I know sometimes people feel like all we do is roads in this county, but we appreciate the hard work you've done even without the staffing you've had, so thank you all.
I think most people feel like we don't do roads.
And it's no different in any other county though. I mean, you turn on the news, Atlanta, Troop, Muskogee, they all complaining about potholes. I mean, we're no different than anywhere else.
I was in a class with the chairman of the board from Head County, and she told me, she said, their budget a few years ago was $1.4 billion. And I said, okay, ours is like less than a tenth of that. And she said, maybe it doesn't matter if you have 1.4 billion or 100 trillion. She says the same issues in every county, every day.
We got it. Okay, moving on to the report from the finance director. Hopefully, Bill, outside.
You got to number 7.
Number 7.
Oh, my goodness. And I'm the one who asked for it. Okay, item number 7, appointment to the IDA board to fill the unexpired term from District 1. This is my appointment. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Ms. Lisa Thompson to this board. I gave a copy, or each one of you should have received a copy of her resume. I think she comes very well qualified she's fulfilling this term. And I didn't have the time frame when
I think it's,
Ms. Moultries leave.
2020.
It was 1 year ago.
4 years.
Okay, so this will just be able to fulfill the unexpired term till 2020. All right. January of 2020. I've made the motion. Can I get a second? Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to appoint Ms. Lisa Thomas to the IDA board. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thompson. Thank you. The next item is report from the finance director. And Bill, please, I know you've heard a lot. You know, think about all the money that's been heard about.
You guys reported the bank balances, the general fund is still in good shape there. Just want to mention a couple of things on the EMA front. You got the email invitation to the first after litigation plan update meetings, a series of 6 meetings similar to the comp plan, which seems like it goes on forever, but that's something we have to do for the county and the cities to be eligible for various grants. That has to be accomplished. We're also working on our emergency operations plan. We're doing that this summer, and we got a notification from the National Weather Service yesterday that we renew our storm ready designation, so we'll be working on that as well. That's all I have unless you have any questions on it.
Thank you. Okay, report from our county administrator.
Yes, just been incredibly busy. You know, I attended Airport Authority meeting, attended the water and sewer, had a meeting with one of our cities that provides us with some services. Just been a really busy. We've got the LMIG projects together. We've got the Cove Road that's about to start. There are a couple of things that I guess we really need to talk about in the near future. I know we've done a lot today with transportation. I mean, you know, the airport, public works, as somebody says, that's always one of the topics you're going to have. You guys do a phenomenal job with the dollars you have to work with. But our SPLOST, you know, creates about $10 billion, so y'all have about $6.5 million to spread over everything that we have to do, and that's for a 6-year period. So it's only about a little over $1 million a year. And it takes about half of that every year just to match your limit. So we're just where we are. So at some point, you know, we need to discuss options on future funding for transportation. I don't know when you guys want to do it. Maybe the next work session would be a time. But, you know, I know there's T-SPLOST funding that's available. If y'all are wanting to go down the road or want to consider going down that road, we need to kind of make a decision on, if you are, we need to make a decision on when, because the time clock's going to be running very rapidly to be able to get it in. If you wanted to look at it this year, we need to meet with all the cities. So there's just a lot of moving parts that need to come together. And so if you guys could be thinking about, you know, what you'd like to do with that and everything, that would be very helpful for us. That way we can plan, you know, this year's just moving so rapidly. It's hard to believe we're in the middle of March already. And, you know, we've got a lot of stuff to do, but we want to plan ahead. I need to know what we're going to have going this fall. Are we going to be, you know, working on this, or we're doing some other stuff? There's other things we want to put together, like the solid waste thing. So it helps us plan if we kind of know what you guys are thinking about. So
Stop for a second, because I want to piggyback on one thing, and I want the citizens to understand this point. We do have a huge need for transportation dollars in this county, and we do not want to increase, and I will not vote for an increase in taxes. I can promise you that it will always be a no. But if we don't do this T-SPLOST, and I know that we could probably have meetings in the cities and you can talk, hopefully, like that to the citizens. If we don't do a penny increase for the T-SPLOST, then it can mean a lot more increase in property taxes. We don't want to do that. I'm not going to vote for that. So I just want everybody to understand, a penny on everything you purchase, and that's for those individuals living within the community that don't pay property tax. Therefore, they are contributing to some type of funding for them.
And the people that travel through the county.
That's right.
I know that, we have a lot of tourism here. They leave their dollars here as well.
So how much did we miss out on by not passing that last time, Ben?
Oh, you missed out on probably $1 million, yeah, I would say, approximately that. And then on top of that, you have to pay 30% match instead of 10. Now, the law has changed somewhat. If you have a single county now, you still have to pay 30%, but it would help. And also would take some of the pressure off the balance of your SPLOST to do some other things that we need to do in the county. Because roads are important.
And this would help the cities too, just like regular SPLOST.
Absolutely, sure would help cities too.
I just want clarification, Mr. Gates. So when it was done as a region and your LMIG portion was dropped down to 10%?
Your LMIG match, had that passed, would have been 10%.
So if you do it as a single T-Splotch, is it still dropped down to 10%? So it still stay at 30%?
Still stays at 30%.
So it's, there's definitely a need to do something for transportation. Since we have a work session coming up on the 26th, is there any way you can give us a general idea of what that would look like as far as putting that proposal and the types? Is there a way to give an idea of what kind of money could be generated with a T-Splotch?
I can tell you today what we're looking at on it, but, I'll put that in writing. It's about, for the county, we share with the cities, we're looking at about $6.5 million. That'd be about $1 million a year. Now, I also don't want people to think, if we do this, we're going to pave all the dirt roads in the county. Because I think, as I mentioned the other day, when you take 200 miles of dirt roads at the cost of paving those, that's $100 million worth of projects.
Well, Alley Road 5 years ago was $1 million just to pave that 1.something miles. So.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other things we may be able to do, though, is we may be able to go to some other things to address some of the dirt roads. I've traveled a road up in another county sometime, and they use a calcium chloride, and after you put that stuff on for several years, it hardens, and it's a pretty good road. You have some potholes in it, but it's a whole lot better than that. You don't have dust. So that's another potential we could use. It's just one of those things that every county is facing. We have more road needs than we have revenue to deal with. And I think if all the other counties surrounding us are looking at the same thing. Everybody's facing what do we do about transportation? So I'll put that together, and we'll put that on next work session. Okay? And that's all I have. It's just been incredibly busy, but I appreciate all of our staff and everything they do, and appreciate y'all's support.
Report from the county commissioners.
No, I'm going. This is my day. Being very close to the tornadoes that came through years ago in the Manchester area, we are very, very fortunate with the last occurrence that happened. Chairman Hadley and I had an actual opportunity to go to Talbot County this past weekend. She had already scheduled to go, and I was talking with her, so I went, and we had an opportunity to volunteer. She wanted me putting the pictures up. I started doing a slideshow, but I didn't do that. But the devastation there was unbelievable, and we were only in one part where, how many family members lived there? 4 or 5?
Well, it was 2 houses next together that got hit that were the same family.
Yeah, and it was just unbelievable. Going into the main part of town, there are houses that are completely set off the foundation, that are sitting right on the sidewalk there. There are other houses that are completely leveled, others that the roof is gone, trees through them. It's unbelievable to see, and that there were no deaths is amazing. But I texted her that night, and I said, today is probably one of the best days, because I help people every day for what I do for a living, but to be able to go out in there when we got to this particular yard, and there were people everywhere. Some of my neighbors that I didn't even know were going. And the one yard that we worked on that day, you couldn't see hardly any grass. There were flower beds that the individual said there were have that, and to us, it looked really, really good when we left that day, but I'm sure it still looked like hell to them when they walk out, because nothing was like it was. But that's my soapbox. I'll shut up the rest of the day.
Well, quickly, I just wanted to say, keep them in prayer, because I know it was devastating for them. But as a county, I was wondering, since we are a neighboring county, is there anything, do we have any type of funding or anything that we could donate to that county?
We, Ms. Berry, I know, Ms. Beth actually mentioned that the other day too, and Beverly had reached out to Carol Isom, I know the day after, she's the city county administrator there, and I reached back out to her yesterday or day before, and I talked to her, and I told her, I said, we can help anyway, we crews, equipment, other things. They have an issue of hauling the debris somewhere. So I told her, if...
The state is doing that, right?
The state was... We were told, yes. And they left them there an extra week in order to help. She said it'd been a big help. But I think they're going somewhere. So I asked Carol if she would let us know and what we could do to help, and that we'd dedicate some of our crews and equipment to come down and help them any way we could.
And also to add to that, I know some people, they was giving away wood, when they cut the trees up, they was giving them away for people with fireplaces or whatever, just so that they would not have to haul it away.
Okay.
So I do know of some people that went down and got some of the
Gotcha.
wood.
Well, I had an extra chainsaw, I was waiting.
Bring it up. Because I even mentioned to Mr. Gay, I don't know if it was something that would be even an option, but even if we had a Meriwether County morning down there on Saturday, and we encouraged our employees, if we went down and as a group, we went and worked a few hours, because let me tell you what, this stuff ain't going to be over. I mean, our tornado was bad in 11. It didn't look like this does. I mean, if you go out Highway 80, I just can't even describe what it looks like out there. But what if we did that and see if we got some employees that we could pick us Saturday and we just go, it doesn't have to all be debris removal. We also worked with providing meals. We also handed out snack bags and toiletry bags that we had gathered and prepared. Yeah. So there's other things you could do, but like I said, they're our neighbors and they are, I just can't even imagine having to.
I would imagine if we asked about that, if we poured out, we'd have a lot of fun.
There were a lot of Meriwether County.
There were a lot of Meriwether
I'll tell you this, there were probably, in the area that we were in, there were more Meriwether County than anybody else ever worked in.
And I think there are a lot of people, and we've been receiving calls, people don't know exactly what to do and where to go. I had a lady to call and said, I'm donating socks. She says, I'm going to go out and buy socks.
New socks
and underwear. And so I think the most important thing is to identify what are those actual, because sometimes they get duplicate of stuff, I think someone said don't bring any more water because they've got their share of water.
No more clothes right now.
I like the idea of a Meriwether County Day, and those who want to participate either go, or those who want to donate. And then also, we had some churches to say they wanted to just give gift cards so that people can go and get stuff, because what you think they need and what they actually may need is different. So we have some churches just to go to Walmart and...
Well, most of the people heading up you would see different groups or churches.
Yeah, with the churches. So
And we went through the administrator, and to try to be sure, from our perspective, we respected that position. There may be some other groups. I know Larry works a lot with Red Cross.
That's what I was going to ask. Somebody, I didn't know who the Red Cross represented for that area.
Well, their public works director is from Meriwether County now too. He's the one that came out. We talked a lot.
Okay.
We've still got a shelter set up, and there's probably one of the churches there that are accepting. Usually we try to separate the shelter from where the donations are going. Just
And they are
not all in
separate,
one spot, but I'm pretty sure there's at least one or two churches that are accepting all the stuff.
The fire department there in Towleton, they were accepting everything but clothes there. And do you remember, if you know, where there used to be a Maxway store there in Towleton a long time ago? They're able to use that building now, and they're storing all the excess there and then trying to move it up there as they clear out some room. But some people don't have anywhere to go, so they were also asking for totes tubs and stuff that you could give to people that could store things in where it wouldn't get wet, because some of them don't really, if they are finding things that they can get, they don't really have anywhere to go.
And there are a couple of houses that have those pods
Pods,
in
yeah.
front of them.
And that, sometimes a gift card could be used.
But I'm
for
gonna tell you
all.
something. I'm the youngest one on the board of commissioners, but
Are you sure?
that lady right there, she outworked me double time on Saturday. She really did.
Mayor, would there be a way you could reach out to the folks there and see?
We've still got a pretty good sized workforce down there with the Red Cross.
Right.
You know, the shelter will be open until everybody finds somewhere else to go.
Okay.
So I'll reach out and find out exactly what their needs are.
Yes.
So there might be certain items that we haven't touched on, and I'll find out.
If you could let us know on that, then we can kind of concentrate our efforts on what we need. And we reach out to the gentleman, you got his name, Open Works,
Yeah.
to see, because he may need some help.
He was out and about everywhere Saturday, working and coordinating crews. And one of our local construction companies here had sent down some of their equipment and their employees, and the ones that were across the road from where we were. I'm talking, they had that driveway cleared out for that resident in no time. And that was one of our local Greenville companies there.
Would y'all want to try to take a Saturday that we could?
Get that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't mind.
Let me do this. Let me reach back out to them, and we'll see what works for them, what they've got.
And give
how we
us,
can coordinate it.
and whatever Saturday would give us time to get it out there to the community and those who can donate their time or donate whatever they want to. Because there are several people doing stuff now. It's just making sure, because 2 or 3 weeks from now, you're going to have a bunch of people there now, but they're going to need the support even later.
And what I saw is there were a lot of people, private citizens from other areas that brought in their small tractors, and I mean, it helped tremendously, because Beth and I couldn't have done what we did if they had to move some of the larger stuff. But what I saw is there's going to be a need for larger equipment. I don't know if that's something we could help with a day, but the mom and pop local tractors, yes, they help, but they're not gonna clear some of the things that they need cleared.
Well, I think we could do the equivalent and provide some of our paid employees, go down and do some of the big things. So we'll reach back out to them.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anything.
I mean, y'all put this in the paper, bring that nothing to say, and Shirley had nothing to say.
That's the new lead.
No. We're hiring people for public works. That's what I'm saying.
I just have a couple of things. This Friday evening in Warm Springs will be a sip and shop from 5 to 8. The restaurants will be open, the Warm Springs Winery, the shops will be open late, just sort of a festive St. Patrick's kind of thing, affair, so we hope you'll come down and support the merchants there.
We have green beer.
Huh?
We have green beer.
I'll have some green to drink.
Okay.
Bob White Road, I think it's my district or Miss Mary's, I'm not real sure. Do y'all know? Bob White? But it's out close to Ogletree.
Yes.
Okay. No.
She's not claiming it.
Well, I just have a man's name here and phone number, and I just wanted somebody to touch base with him. He has some, it's a dirt road, so many are, but he had some questions, and if I can just pass that on to you. I thought you wanted to talk.
I didn't talk. I just moved.
And just the last thing, I just want to say welcome to Mr. Lee. And I think what an asset it's going to be for Meriwether County to be working with a firm, because it gives us so many more avenues and areas of expertise. And we know what Mr. Lee can already do. He's already been a help to us in several situations, but welcome aboard.
Commissioner
Oh, okay. Wanted to be sure of that. Commander Dunaway asked me just to give you this little report. 17 of the Habitat kids came in for breakfast there yesterday at Post 186, so they're still in the area, they're still doing good things. One thing I was going to make mention of, the road report, I read it, and it's amazing to me how many tires are being thrown down out there. I what we can do about that unless we just start roping off some of the roads and say, stay out of here or whatever. But there's a lot of that. Even TV I saw. Somebody threw their TV down on the road. So. But anyway, now that we've got these 6 more positions, I'm going to use that when I get the telephone calls. Even though I've seen the work order, when they're telling me, I said, we have filled just 6 more positions just for you. Take care of that road. Y'all can use that.
Not filled yet.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'd like to thank Mr. Gates filling in for me there last night on the Lake Meriwether Board. We're still rushing to get up to the April the 30th is our deadline, and Mr. Bill and Public Works have been down helping us out with that. There's a lot of good things going on. The bathrooms are all straightened out now. That's something we had so many problems with those drains. Now they're ready for use. I think somebody asked me just earlier, if I wanted to go down there tent camping, yes, you have access to the bathrooms now. All that is open and ready. So I really have enjoyed seeing the work come together down there. But there's been a lot of volunteers that have put in a lot of hours, and it's made a major difference. Not only has it made a difference in what's accomplished, but it's made a difference in what the price tag to the county has been. So that has really helped a lot. With that being said, and I think I told Nathan earlier, just welcome aboard the good ship Lollipop here. So good to have you. That's all I have.
Thank you. So the next is a report from the county attorney, but since this is your first day.
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
Executive session.
Yeah. Well, once again, we appreciate having Glover and Davis on as representing us and you being the representative for them. So thank you for coming on board. Public comments? Does anyone like to share anything with the board? I know there's a lot on your hearts and minds.
We warm out.
Warm out, okay. Miss Nelson, would you come up and name and sign and also...
My name's Debbie Nelson. I live on Tenny Nelson Road, and I just want to thank the commissioners for appointing me to the Board of Assessors. I just think it's going to be a good challenge, and I'm up for it. So I just thank you all, and I look forward to learning a lot next week's school. So.
Hey, welcome aboard, and thank you for taking it.
We're going to be about conservation use. I know we had some trouble getting the schedules together, but I think we're going to do that so maybe this afternoon.
Okay.
And just go over that. And I also forgot to say we did the Leadership Meriwether program last Friday. I don't know how we got that, but it was an all-day deal. But it went well. I thought it was well attended.
Good crowd. It was a very diverse group, and they all seemed very eager to learn. I think they all walked out realizing that we do more than just roads. I think it was a good learning. And I encourage those who have not had an opportunity to go through Leadership Meriwether. It is a truly good program to expose yourself how your county operates. So, and then Ms. Nelson, you're in that class as well, aren't you?
It's wonderful. I think last week was very inspiring.
Darren, before we close out, before the work session, can we add in there that we receive updates on the rec board as well as them to someone from the rec board to come and inform us of what they've been doing and where we're at?
They've had trouble getting a quorum. Well, that's why we didn't have quorum the other day, and I don't think the last couple of
It's only one. Only the one they had this past week. The first one was full, and this is an entirely new board.
Right, but yes, you're right, but we were having trouble with that group. That's why we y'all replaced some of the folks.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I understand that, I just want to report.
Sure. Okay. And we'll ask someone to be able to come too. Okay.
So is that a report from the advisory board as well as from? Okay, so we need a report from the advisory board and also a report from the Meriwether County Recreation Board, the one that...
No, I just want to know, you can request anything else, I just want to know what the board is doing. We haven't really had anybody from this advisory board.
You're talking about just for advisory?
Yeah. I want to know what their thoughts and ideas are, because we haven't had that.
I could ask, if we work out with Vic, we get Vic into just a report on what's going on. We're going to have the The kids coming that day anyway, so I know you'll want to be here for that. So,
So, maybe they can tell us a little bit. I just been following it on Facebook, that's how many kids had won those championships, which it was good watching the updates. If somebody was giving the scores all along, and I know it
yeah,
was
the
good to
girls
watch.
were, I forget, they were out of town, one on the road.
Panther looks hungry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, I'm probably gonna have to get him some lunch here, and I'm gonna take him, we're gonna go around and meet the departments and everything, and introduce him, and he knows most of the course down in the court system already, but we'll introduce him, and then Bill and I going down to see the officers.
So the next item is future meetings and notices. March the 26th at 4:30 is our work session, and then on March the 26th at 6 p.m. is our regular meeting as well. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, can I get a motion? There's been a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
He's in favor.